Chapter 16, Part 3. Grandpa was reading in the living room when I came in and flopped onto the sofa, but I didn't even look at him. With my head still spinning, I leaned back and stared at the ceiling, waiting for the dizziness to pass. I could feel my grandfather's presence in the room, but he said nothing. He was watching me, waiting, maybe worried. Would he still worry about me? Or was he worried about himself? My head cleared enough so that I could sit up. Grandpa was in his chair, and he smiled at me. "Are you feeling all right, son?" He looked concerned, looked just like my grandfather had always looked. His voice sounded soothing, like I was back home. The sights, sounds, and smells of Grandma's house, those were all around me. Cozy. It felt good. Then I remembered Ronnie. Had it been a dream? Had I even seen him? Maybe it was all some sort of hallucination. I looked at Grandpa. I loved him. I knew he loved me. We were both sitting in a room where we'd read together, listened to the radio, where he'd played with me when I was a little boy. This room, this house, this man were all a part of my roots, all parts of a memory I had always loved. But another, newer memory nagged my conscience. I tried to ignore it. I wanted to forget it, but the Hilburn stubbornness wouldn't let me. I knew I could settle it with one statement, not even a question. I could say it, watch my grandfather, and know. I'd know immediately, know if my roots were as solid as ever, or if they'd withered and rotted. I looked at Grandpa, his face full of concern and love for me. I felt his love. I loved him. I had always loved him. "Grandpa, Ronnie Remington told me something about a promise." He didn't move. His expression didn't change. His look of concern stayed the same. But his eyes looked desperate when he shook his head, chuckled, and said, "Oh, that Ronnie Remington, he talks in such circles that he could drown a man." "You were there. That night you were there." My grandfather's smile faded. He looked away from me and whispered, "The boy was alive when I left. They promised they were done with him when they brought me home." And then I knew what I didn't want to know.